Hi, my name is Lyric,
Hi.
and we're with Hayden. Once again, I am filming this before you say if you like them or not, so too bad if you don't. You can suck my penis. Okay, so we're reacting to World War I Oversimplified. Oversimplified. I have watched a lot of the Oversimplified videos. This person has not. What is your prior context of the World War I before you go on to the oversimplified version of it? What is your pre-context of like general knowledge? Where would you rank your knowledge? Would you say you know a lot, medium, or a little?
I mean, all I really know about World War I is the assassination of Frank Ferdinand.
Franz
Franz, yeah, Franz, whatever.
He didn't even know his name. So
I
he's
can't
not
even
clear
get his
that
name
much.
right.
Yeah,
Franz Ferdinand, and that it happened in 1914, and that's about my only knowledge.
All right, so we're okay. That's definitely gonna be the beginning of this. So let's see how we go. Oversimplified. One more oversimplified.
Also,
tell me.
you do not have to suck his penis. Don't take anything he says seriously.
Don't think anything I take seriously. Yeah, let's go. Oversimplified.
The world of 1914, a time of modern technology, culture, and fashion. Truly the height of
Drip.
civilization.
What?
Ostrich drip.
Ostrich do have
Let's
drip.
have a war. Everyone knew
The Emu
the
War.
big war was coming. France wanted some stuff back that Germany had
Was the
taken
ostrich
from
drip,
it.
I guess.
Germany wanted to take more of everyone's stuff, and
As usual.
Yeah,
they were
Germany
building a big,
tends to
sexy
do that.
Navy that was making the British uncomfortable.
Oh God.
These two empires thought they were really cool,
Navy gonna make me act up.
but lots of different people who lived there didn't think it was so cool. And some of them had even been declaring independence with help from Russia. Everyone was talking about each other behind each other's backs, throwing the fact that military technology had come a long way since the last major war, and suddenly everyone was pretty eager to beat each other up. In this area of Austria-Hungary live some Serbs and Bosnians who hated living in Austria-Hungary. So the Austro-Hungarian Archduke Franz Ferdinand goes there for a nice drive in an open-top car with his car's route published in advance.
What could possibly go wrong here? I don't understand.
I don't know. I
What?
mean,
I'm just the leader of a very country where all my people aren't happy in an open top car where my car's republished in advance.
the only thing I could think that could happen that is worse than this is if he decided to stop at a sandwich shop.
Yes. Oh, if only he
And
let us
that
have a
was just
sandwich
about
shop.
as
That'd be
well
so
as you'd
bad.
expect. Some assassins were waiting for him along the way and threw bombs at his car, but they missed and blew up some officers behind him instead. So the Archduke goes into hiding, leaves Sarajevo, and the whole war never happens.
The good ending. Let's go.
The good ending.
Except no, the Archduke doesn't leave, but instead goes back out in the open-top car to visit the injured officers in hospital. The driver takes a wrong turn and by sheer coincidence gets stuck beside one of the failed assassins, who shoots him. Austria-Hungary is understandably pissed about all this, and they think the Serbian government had something to do with it, which they might have. So they go to their ally Germany and say, "Hey,
Cheeky ass Serbia government.
Cheeky ass Serbian government. Jokic did
Germany,
it.
we're going to declare war on Serbia," and Germany is all for that. So Austria-Hungary send a big list of impossible demands to Serbia, and when Serbia refuses, they declare war. Austria-Hungary and Germany are friends, and Serbia is protected by Russia, who's friends with France, so they'll declare war on each other.
See, okay, this is why this thing spirals out of control because everyone's trying to back their boys.
Uh-huh.
This was just one war between this big country and this small country. This could have ended pretty quickly, but everyone keeps trying to back their boys. Okay, so now we have 5 countries involved.
Montenegro joins in too.
And Montenegro, but who cares?
France and Britain also have a kind of alliance.
It's like the tiniest country that they could have possibly like decided to join in. They're just like, come on.
I'm pretty sure that is the smallest country on this map right now.
Yeah.
each other.
Well, other than like Andorra
Montenegro joins
and
in
Vatican
too.
City.
France and Britain also have a kind
The Pope could definitely throw down though.
of
Yeah. I'm convinced they have some sort of holy magic. Like they can just start casting spells at
Yeah,
Russia.
that's what happened. The World War III coming soon.
other. Montenegro joins in too. France and Britain also have a kind of alliance. So when France says, "Hey Britain, you got my back?" Britain is like, "Maybe." And then they decide to stay out of it, which is great for Germany
For once.
because Germany has a plan. They know that Russia is so big and clumsy that it will take them a while to get ready for war. So with this guy in charge, Germany will send all its troops
That helmet.
that it will take them a while to get ready for war. So with this guy
Look at that thing.
I mean, if you're trying not to look evil.
That is impressive.
I mean, it's a great helmet.
His
but
first name is basically Helmet already.
That's fucking great. Yeah, I don't think these helmets helped in you looking like the bad guys in this. I mean, they haven't even done anything that wrong yet.
Like,
And they already look like the
you
bad
could
guys.
just headbutt someone to death. You just have a giant spike on it. There's no way someone didn't accidentally die by like falling on their own helmet.
Oh, 100%.
That has to be a safety hazard.
Also, it's like a Viking helmet, but only one. But by the way, this war is special compared to World War II in the fact that there's no obvious bad guy. Germany is like not doesn't do anything that much worse than the Allies do in the war.
Yeah.
There's not
There was
obvious...
very clearly a bad guy in World War II.
Yeah, like it's very obvious who we're rooting against. But the Germany doesn't do things that are that much worse. Like both sides commit vicious war crimes, and not really that much worse than one another.
In charge, Germany will send all its troops into France at lightning speed while Russia's getting ready. Defeat France, then move all the troops to Russia and defeat Russia, and then we all speak...
You can't just say that.
You can't just go, we're gonna just defeat France, because it's that easy, and then we're just gonna defeat Russia.
Defeat
It's that
Russia,
easy.
something that no one other than the Mongols have ever done in history.
German eat Pfefferpottast every day. Just one problem. France has loads of forts and defenses along its German border, and Germany can't waste any time fighting them, so Germany decides to go around them. Through Belgium.
Whoa.
Belgium is neutral, but Germany wants to march...
I didn't know Belgium was a country.
You weren't unaware?
I honestly thought that it was like a town or something.
This is good.
This is exactly why the American school system sucks. They don't teach you anything.
See, this...
The only reason I realized Belgium was a country was because a foreign exchange student was from Belgium.
Yeah, okay. So this is how you know we're really learning something about this, because not only are we learning about World War I, apparently we're learning that Belgium is a country. And big role here.
And they don't speak German. They speak French.
And Dutch a little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Belgium
Like,
is
it's like
neutral,
mainly just
but
French and
Germany wants
Dutch.
to march 750,000 troops through it to get around...
You know, can we just march 750,000 troops through your neutral country? You know, why not, you know?
France's defenses. They're hoping Belgium will just kind of sit down and shut up, but they don't. They fight back. And they're pretty good too, so they slow the Germans down. What's worse is that Britain shows up, and they're pretty pissed that Germany's invading neutral countries. So now Britain declares war on Germany.
Okay, see... See, now, it was so much easier if you just fought through the defenses. Now you have a whole other country.
Or just decided that, like, just let Austria fight this.
Yes. Also, so now you have the biggest empire in the world, I'm pretty sure at this point, against you now.
So Germany push on through Belgium and commit some atrocities along the way. They also wear
great.
spikes and sometimes skulls on the uniform. So if you're trying to not look like the bad guys, good job. The Allies have a propaganda extravaganza.
Everyone knows that's how you look like the good guys.
Giant spikes and skulls.
Yeah.
This starts having an influence around the world, notably in America.
Best way to look like the good guy? Just dress like you listen to Black Sabbath.
Yeah,
The
100%.
U.S. President Woodrow Wilson sees himself as a bit of a
What did I
Jesus
do?
figure
Sorry, I
and spends
messed
most of the war trying to get everyone to just hug it out. But there's also a large population of ethnic Germans living in the United States, and when the war first...
Woodrow Wilson also is one of the worst presidents of all time. He's even though most people remember him fondly because he was the president during World War I, so he just remembered, oh, he must be good, right? Because we won World War I. But he actively is quoted in a KKK documentary, which he screened in the White House.
Okay.
So, yeah.
out. But there's also a large population of ethnic Germans living in the United States, and when the war first broke out, they were like, yay, Germany. But now that they're committing atrocities in Belgium, they're less enthusiastic. Let's play Spot the French Soldier.
Find him.
He's behind,
Did you
I
see
can't,
him?
I don't,
Easy, right?
Oh, shit,
He's
I was-
wearing a
I
bright
was
blue
almost
uniform
close.
with red trousers. And
Red
do you know who else
trousers.
spotted him easily too? The Germans. So when the French were slowly marching in columns through the countryside, the Germans easily tore them to shreds with their giant...
I thought color wasn't invented yet. I'm looking, it's
yeah.
just black and white.
I mean,
How
to
did
be
they
fair,
see
it
color?
is just black and white, man.
guns.
I thought it wasn't invented till that girl Dorothy went to that
Yeah, she-
door.
Nations involved in this
Whenever
war
she
went
came
through
back,
the
she,
old
whenever she came back, she brought color with her, right?
Exactly, man.
school war mentality. And all of them had to update their uniforms and tactics a lot during the Great War. Because this war was going to be like nothing anyone had ever seen before. Russia's ready for war, and way earlier than expected.
So your plan was to
Well-
defeat France before Russia even got ready. You're not even in France yet.
You're in Belgium.
You're in Belgium, and Russia's already ready. This is not good.
Hey, Austria-Hungary, can you get on top of that? Oh yeah, sure, we've got this. Nope. So Germany has to send some troops back to the east to defend against the Russians. The chief of staff of the Austro-Hungarian army is this guy, and although he is handsome, he turns out not to be the best military strategist. Austria-Hungary constantly ignores Germany's advice, and then comes running back to Germany whenever they get in trouble. Austria-Hungary even gets its ass kicked by tiny Serbia, who repels all their invasion attempts at the start of the war. It's better news for Germany in the north.
Germany, you picked the worst possible ally in this war. Nothing's going right for Austria-Hungary.
Where they almost completely wipe out the Russian Second Army. Back on the Western Front, the Germans continue.
Like, Germany and Austria-Hungary so far in this war feel like a buddy cop movie with like one really serious guy and then one guy like a total ass idiot.
Just goof.
Yeah, total goof.
And are in sight of Paris. At this point, anyone would be forgiven for thinking the Germans were going to get that quick victory after all. But then things start to go wrong. The French commander-in-chief knew something had to be done, and he ordered his armies to stop retreating. In the resulting battle, a gap opened up in the German lines. If a gap opens up, the enemy can use it to flank you from the side and behind, so the German armies have to retreat. The Allies launch a counterattack, so the Germans dig into defensive positions. The Allies do the same.
Oh no.
Oh.
Then both sides move north, trying to outflank each other along the way. When they reach the sea, they're in a stalemate with trench systems running the whole way from the coast to Switzerland, the beginning of trench warfare on the Western Front. Here's how trench warfare works. Two opposing lines of trenches with no man's land in between. One side would pummel the other with hundreds of thousands of artillery shells, sometimes for days at a time. This had a huge psychological effect on the soldiers, leaving many shell-shocked. Then, the attacking troops would leave their trenches and rush across no man's land, a muddy wet mass of shell craters and barbed wire. The defending trench would unleash machine gun fire on the attackers, inflicting thousands of casualties. The attackers would send wave after wave until either they gave up or the opposing trench was finally overrun. There would be months of fighting and the deaths of thousands in order to gain a few meters or kilometers of land. Living in the trenches was hard work too. Corpses, mud that could swallow you whole, pools of poisonous water, rats, disease, the smell. It's insane that millions of soldiers put up with these conditions, and commanders ordered them to do so for years.
So this is where things start really getting bad, alright? Because it was like, this was a big war, right? But now this is where trench warfare is where things turn from really big war to most vicious war in history up to this point. Alright, that's the end of part 1. Let's go on to part 2. Alright, now on to part 2.
With both sides stuck in a hard stalemate, they knew this war wasn't going to be...
The thing is, though, it makes this also... Trench warfare also makes it really hard for anyone to win. Because it takes so long to get so little land, and you already got this land from when you weren't doing trench warfare, so no one can get really that far at all.
Taking territory, but about simply wearing each other down. The Allies had plenty of men to expend from its overseas...
God, you can clearly see who's gonna win here.
Yeah, I mean, European empires are pretty big.
Yeah, you have the... British has
British
colonies
Empire,
pretty
I
much
think,
anywhere.
I think this is around the peak of the British Empire. They controlled like nearly, I think, a quarter of the world.
Yeah, I think there's like
mostly in Africa
there's
here.
like mainly there's maybe like 20 or less countries that
I
British
think Belgium
Britain has
controlled
never
DR
invaded.
Congo right here. Yeah, Canada was still under control of the British Empire at this point. They had India as well, so Australia.
And the British also started a naval blockade, so Germany couldn't import stuff, like food. Neither side really wanted a long...
I think if you look at this map...
The Allies had plenty of men to expend from its...
I think if it was just in Europe, I think Germany and Austria-Hungary are actually probably winning. Because they have the... I think that at this
At least
point...
just land-wise, they have...
Yeah, I think they had the best... Germany, I think, had the best land... I think...
technically Russia has a lot of land, but most of it's not, like,
yeah, most of it's
big,
not,
important land.
unless you're fighting in Siberia, it's not going to get that much of an advantage. Germany, I think at this point, I think they said Germany, I know at this point, Germany has the best army, and Britain had by far the best navy in the world. So I think if the war was just Europe, I think the Axis, not the Axis at this point, the Central Powers, I think, that they called in World War I, actually have a great chance at winning.
I think we would be watching this video if I knew that.
But, yeah, I'm trying to inform you here, okay? But the problem, but because you have the damn British and French empires. French Empire also controlled a lot of things at this point still.
Overseas dominions. And the British also started a naval blockade, so Germany couldn't import stuff, like food. Neither side really wanted a long, grueling war, though, so they both thought of ways to break the deadlock on the Western Front. Idea number 1, new frontiers. When the war first broke out, Australia was quick to take German New Guinea. The Allies also quickly jumped on Germany's colonies in Africa, and particularly in German East Africa, locals were enlisted as soldiers and carriers by both sides, leading to a tragic loss of life for the native Africans. Some new combatants entered the war as well. The Allies' new friends were...
This is also why it was called World War I originally, even though pretty much every single country involved is a European country, but they control areas in every continent because they were all big empires at this point.
Native Africans. Some new combatants entered the war as well. The Allies' new friends were Italy and Japan. Japan was busy building
Is
itself
Asia
an
getting involved
empire,
now?
so it was more than happy to take away German islands and colonies in East Asia. Italy actually had an alliance with Germany and Austria-Hungary before the war, but after some tense relations, and then the Allies promising to give them some of Austria-Hungary's stuff, they switched sides.
Yeah, this happens in both world wars.
Yeah, this is not. This is a very common occurrence.
This is only the first time this will happen.
Italy opened up a front in the mountains here, but like everyone else, they were stuck in stalemate.
Granted, I feel like most of it's just because like no one treats Italy with any amount of respect while you're doing the wars.
Yeah.
I don't blame them for leaving.
Yeah.
Or, like switching sides.
Especially in World War II, because Mussolini is just Hitler's bitch. Like he literally, I think, yeah, like Winston Churchill, I think is on, like he like made a whole statement about how they're not scared of Mussolini in the slightest bit.
Because I think Hitler just didn't tell him that he was going to war that quickly at all. They were not prepared.
Yeah.
For most of the
So
war.
as soon as Italy got invaded, they just quickly, Mussolini just went, nah, bro, I'm out of here. And
Yeah.
switched sides.
The Central Powers' new friend was
Well, I don't think Mussolini did. I think they kicked Mussolini out.
a struggling empire in the Middle East. The Ottomans.
Let's go.
The Ottomen were divided on whether to actually
Those little
join
foot
the war or
things
not,
outside of
since
a
they've been
couch.
exhausted.
Yes. Yeah, this is the
Imagine that's what your legacy is. Like, you have this cool empire, and your legacy is reduced to the thing you put your foot on. while
This
you're
is
sitting on
something
the
that's not
couch.
talked about enough about World War One. That this was the end of the Ottoman Empire, which had been a country for 600 years.
Yeah, I feel like people just forget about it.
Yeah.
Exhausted by
It's
the
kind of
recent
overshadowed
Cold War.
by 18 million dead Jews.
Well, not Jews, but in this war. But,
Not in this. I just mean like people think about World War II way more often.
Yeah, in this war. Well, there is a genocide in this war committed by the Ottomans. People don't talk about at all, but we'll get to that.
Some of the politicians who did want to join went off on their own and fired some shells at Russia. And then came back and said, whoops, looks like we're at war now.
How pissed would you be? There's a political battle. Okay, should we go to the war? Should we go to not? People who want to go to war just go to Russia, fire some shells, and now we're at war. Bruh. Like, come on,
The
bro.
Ottoman entry into the war was of particular concern to the
Yeah, because you can see now,
British and said, whoops,
look at the map.
looks like we're at war now. The Ottoman
because the Ottoman Empire had existed since like the 1300s, and they were in decline at this point. So now they're mainly just Turkey and a little bit of the Middle East, when they used to be like a huge empire encompassing a lot of this area over here.
Ottoman entry into the war was of particular concern to the British, since the Middle East was full of oil, and Britain wanted all of that oil.
The original USA,
Yeah.
the British
First, the
Empire.
Ottomans
It's our
tried to
roots.
Yeah.
attack Russia in the
This was probably the first big war that was the motivation.
Oil.
First big war, because cars had not been
Yeah.
invented that long ago at this point.
Caucasus Mountains, but they weren't prepared for the cold, and many of them froze to death. Then they
How many times do we have to say, don't go into Russia, it's cold?
Everyone tries to. I think we can just agree that you can beat Russia in a war by just staying where you're at and winning on the border. You can't invade Russia. The only people who can invade Russia are previous Russian countries.
Yes.
Because they also live in the cold.
Exactly, man. Or you're the Mongols, because
Because they have bows.
Yeah, because they're just the Mongols, and Genghis Khan's gonna fuck all your wives.
They crossed miles of desert to take the Suez Canal from the British.
See, this is how when you should be. See, this is when at least it makes sense why you would try to do it. Because
Yeah,
it's a desert,
but that
and you live in a desert.
failed too.
But it's also controlled by the British Empire at this point, so probably not a good idea.
You don't really
Then the
win.
Allies tried to take the Dardanelles at Gallipoli in a long and hard trench warfare campaign, but that also failed. The Ottomans blamed their initial losses on the ethnic Armenians living within Ottoman territory, and the resulting Armenian genocide led to the deaths of 1.5 million people. Then
They're
Just not talked about.
They're just Germany just wanting things and genocide have to be involved in world wars, apparently.
Yeah. Also, by the way, Turkey, which is basically the closest thing to the Ottoman Empire that exists now,
And if
Just-
I'm not wrong, every world war, like, the end of it kind of just results in, like, a split of a country, right?
yeah.
Because you had, like, the split of Germany.
Yeah, at
You
the
had,
end of
like-
this war, spoiler alert, at the end
and
of this
then
war, Austria-Hungary and the
Austria-
Ottoman Empire are not going to exist.
Well, I think we can. I think anyone who is alive now can tell that now Austria and Hungary are two separate countries.
Yes.
So I
And
imagine.
also, there's about
Austria-
10 other countries in that area where Austria-Hungary is. Because that also becomes Yugoslavia, which exists for like 80 more years. Then it splits up into like 5 more countries. Yeah. And
And then they have really good basketball players.
they have a great basketball team. But to Ottoman Empire, basically the closest thing now to the Ottoman Empire that descended from was Turkey. Turkey still denies that the Armenian genocide was a genocide. Just despite the fact they killed 1.5 million people because they were Armenian. Which is literally textbook definition. Textbook definition.
Cultural genocide.
Textbook definition right there.
Into Afghanistan to try to.
Do you know how messed up 2 wars have to be? In the span of 2 wars, a genocide that killed 1.5 million people is the second worst genocide. Like, oh my god.
There to rise up in jihad against the British and attack India. But that plan failed, partly because the spies got bored, brewed their own alcohol, and got drunk, which is a bad thing to do in Afghanistan. All these new French...
Typical German behavior.
Just could not win a war because they were too drunk.
Butterfly effect.
hadn't done much to change the war. Aware that the Allies had more men and supplies than them, the Germans knew they had to do something to break the stalemate. Before the war, there was a big conference that set out the rules of modern warfare. No chemical weapons, no killing civilians. Basically, don't be jerks. The Germans held a meeting and decided to be jerks. Zeppelin air raids commenced over British cities.
Let's be jerks. Drops a bomb. 'Cause that's what being a jerk is dropping bombs.
Bro, that's what feeling being
If so, U.S. is the biggest jerk. We dropped 2 of them.
Yeah, really, we got some really big jerks, if you know what I mean.
We, like, pushed the nerd into the locker and then became really good friends with them afterwards.
They also started attacking the Allied trenches with chlorine gas, and they used submarines to sink civilian ships. One such civilian ship was the Lusitania, which had 159 Americans on board when it was sunk, further swaying U.S. opinion against the Germans.
Oh, great. The last thing you want to do when America is kind of on the verge of joining a war is bomb their ships. It's happened twice.
Yeah, not a good idea.
Completely unfair to the Germans, the Allies also engaged in chemical warfare soon after, and they had been hiding anti-submarine weapons on their civilian ships.
So basically what this happens is, the reason why it's not a clear bad guy is Germany's probably the one doing the messed up stuff first, but instead of being like, but it's shortly followed by the Allies repeating the exact same thing. Just doing it back.
Which
so
let the Germans justify their attack.
It ends up not being a really clear bad guy, even though Germany's doing the bad
Austria-Hungary
stuff
still
really
hadn't dealt
first,
with Serbia.
the chemical weapons
So
and
the
stuff.
Central Powers enlisted some help.
Serbia's still here. And Montenegro.
The 2, like, smallest countries are still just doing perfectly fine. In fact, they have not even been slightly invaded, as opposed to, like, France and Belgium.
Yeah.
Bulgaria wished it was bigger and was still bitter about losing the Second Balkan War. The Central Powers promised to make all of Bulgaria's wildest dreams come true if they helped, so they signed on, and together they knocked out Serbia.
Okay, now they're gone.
Troops retreated through Albania, which was neutral but had some ties to Austria-Hungary. So Austria-Hungary entered Albania in a friendly invasion to chase down the Serbians, many of whom escaped by sea. It's 1916, and a lot is happening. As if they didn't have enough enemies already, Germany added one more to the list. Portugal had...
Germany keeps just attacking people when they do not need to keep attacking
they're already way outnumbered.
been getting a bit chummy with the Allies behind the scenes, and Germany didn't like that one bit. Around the same time...
Like, there's no reason for that.
Like, I like the thought process is, they're kind of becoming friends with these people, so let's give them a really good reason to become complete friends with these people, not be like, you guys could join us. Instead, we're gonna attack you.
Yeah.
The only sea battle of the war happened. Both sides had a new powerful...
That's pretty insane. World War I. There's only one sea battle in the entire thing.
Class of battleships called dreadnoughts, but they were so expensive to build that neither side wanted to risk losing them in a battle. So they kept them in port, except for one time when they had a big fight and a bunch of them got damaged. So they didn't try that again. The UK started conscripting men to the army, so they had plenty of...
I like how they're like, these ships are really expensive. Let's just not fight with them while they're sending millions of people out.
Reserves, which is just as well because the Western Front was about to get brutal. The longest...
Look, human lives are not nearly as important as expensive metal.
Expensive ships, okay? I can replace the humans.
And one of the bloodiest battles of the war started when the Germans launched an attack around the French city of Verdun. The French defended it desperately, leading to hundreds of thousands of casualties. Under pressure, the French called on its allies to do something to draw the Germans' attention away. So the British started their own long and brutal fight, the Battle of the Somme, with 60,000 British casualties on just the first day. It was...
First of all, insane. Also, tanks.
Tanks are cool.
Tanks.
It's here that the British first used one crazy brand new piece of sci-fi technology. The Russians had been getting pushed back further and further into their own territory, but in response to the French call for help, they began a huge offensive, and did really well until they ran out of supplies and got stuck. Seeing how well the Russians had been doing, Romania decided now would be a great time to jump in and win the war. And then they got pounded.
Bad decisions were made.
Greeks were fighting amongst themselves about whether to join the war or not. The king
Greeks fighting amongst themselves is very common.
Very common. Throughout thousands of years of history.
The Central Powers, while the Prime Minister wanted to join the Allies. After a brief national schism, during which the country split...
Greek is a king?
At this time, at least. I don't know if they still do.
The Minister wanted to join the Allies. After a brief national schism, during which the country
Schism's a funny word.
The king finally abdicated and the country reunited. With Allied help, they began a new offensive.
See, this is how you do it, Ottoman Empire. Because the king could have just randomly went out and attacked one of the allies.
Just attacked.
And now we're part of the Central Powers.
In the
It would have been a lot worse.
Russia was pushing into Ottoman territory from the north. The British had also made a landing in Mesopotamia to protect Persia's oil fields, and they had also sent a small army up the Tigris River to try to take Baghdad. But the army got sieged in the town of Kut along the way, and eventually surrendered. A new offensive was launched from the south with all-out desert warfare. The offensive was aided by one famous British officer, better known as Lawrence of Arabia, who helped lead the Arab tribes in a revolt that wreaked havoc on the Ottoman supply lines. By the time 1917 rolled around, everyone was exhausted. There were mutinies in the French army, the German populace was starving, and the war had drained all of Russia's supplies. There was no clear winner, and it was still anyone's war.
By the way, Russia, there's a whole video on, I think, the Russian Revolution and all that stuff. Literally, Russia, I think, went from Russian Revolution right before this, then World War I, I think Russia Civil War right after this. I don't know if those two were switched or not, something like that. And then they became the USSR, and then they got into World War II, and then the Cold War happened.
And there then the USSR collapsed.
Yeah, and there's still stuff going on in Russia right now.
Russia is the most unstable.
Since 1900, Russia has damn near always been in a perpetual state of being at war.
But also kind of so is America.
Yeah, but at least the fighting is normally not in America.
It's never in America.
Pretty much all
Russia
the wars
is always just fighting on borders.
It's in the war.
The only question now
Russia was also involved in Napoleon, which was about the 1800s as well.
was, who was going to break
They won that
first?
one.
And the answer was Russia. Tired of not eating and mad that a crazy magic homeless guy was calling some of the shots.
Rah rah, Rasputin.
There was an uprising in Petrograd, complete with riots and strikes. The riots turned into a full-scale revolution, and a new government overthrew the Tsar. Then a few months later, the Bolsheviks overthrew the new government, and they pulled
communism.
Basically, he is oversimplified. He's an oversimplified video on the Russian Revolution right there. So this guy, they were tired of not eating. There was a crazy homeless guy fucking the Tsar, fucking the Tsar's wife, and then someone overthrew them, and then someone overthrew them, and now they're out of the war.
Oversimplified the oversimplified version of
oversimplified squared.
the war. This was great news for Germany, who now only had to focus on the Western Front. But there was still one problem. The pesky United States of America was looking increasingly like it was going to join the war. America had been selling supplies to the Allies throughout the war and was getting super rich off the back of it, meaning it was in fantastic shape and was dangerous to the Germans. So Germany sent a telegram to Mexico saying, wouldn't it be crazy cool if you guys attacked America? But the British understood.
They tried that
Yeah.
a while ago, and it did not work out at all.
Yeah, I don't think it worked out.
Like, we beat them, but, like, we just, like, rushed to beat them out of pity.
Yeah, it didn't work out too well.
We basically any percent speed ran the Mexican War.
Yeah.
And then gave them $15 million because we felt bad.
Yeah.
Accepted the message, showed it to the Americans, and that was the final straw.
Dude. They got caught. That is the most historically accurate version of getting caught in 4K. Of their telegram gets shot and be like, what is this? Germany.
American troops began shipping out to Europe. This was terrible news for Germany, and they knew their only hope now was to force France and the UK to surrender before the fresh American troops arrived. It was now or never, so they started one final attack.
Also, once again, by the way, Switzerland.
Just there.
Just there. The Netherlands as well, actually.
The thing, too, though, is that, like, Switzerland isn't, like, a little, like, bitch about being neutral. Like, if you even, like, touch their land, they get really pissy about it and will kill literally anyone.
Exactly, man. I'm pretty sure there's, like, they actually have a lot of really big military, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, they have a huge military.
But they just haven't been involved in any wars.
Because in World War II, like, whenever I think there were both Allied planes and German planes that would try to fly over Switzerland, they would shoot any of them down.
Yeah.
Or at least, like, threaten to say, leave the airspace or we will shoot either of you down. They don't care.
Yeah.
Before the fresh American troops arrived, it was now or never, so they started
Pretty sure Switzerland has not been involved in an official war since Napoleon.
one final attack. They converged their troops and hit hard at the Somme and pushed the Allies back. They hit a second time further north, then again and again. With each hit,
I never said of bombs, just giant fists we dropped on countries.
Yeah.
Germans were spending more and more resources, while the Allies were getting better and better at repelling their attacks. By the fifth punch, the Allies held the line and even pushed back. With American troops now arriving in larger numbers, the Allies launched a counterattack, and that was it. The Central Powers were being pushed back on all fronts. Bulgaria collapsed first, followed by the Ottoman Empire, then Austria-Hungary, and finally on November 11th, 1918, at 11 o'clock, Germany surrendered. At the
11-11 at 11.
Treaty of Versailles.
I don't know if I'd be clapping for that.
It was forced to reduce its military, accept war guilt, and pay the bill for the war. After indescribable suffering and millions dead, the world learnt its lesson and never had such an awful war again. For about 20 years.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, Treaty of Versailles, very not good. Treaty of Versailles, 90% of the cause for World War II. Because the Treaty of Versailles was, hey, Germany, you become a far smaller country. You get split in two. You
and
pay
you have so much debt.
They only paid off their World War I debt fully in, I believe, like 2012. They had to become a republic, which no one in the country liked. And their inflation went so high that you had to pay like 800 billion marks for a piece of bread. And it was not a good breeding ground for stuff to happen. And also, Austria-Hungary Empire collapses and Ottoman Empire collapses.
Pretty much
Bulgaria's alright, though.
Yeah.
Bulgaria survives. It wasn't like Bulgaria was going to get split up, bro. It's like a very small country. But, yeah. And Russia also loses a lot of... What does Russia... I'm pretty sure Russia does still lose a lot of land, even if they're on the winning side, because they quit midway through and had the whole Civil War and Revolution and stuff. But yeah, that's it for Oversimplified for World War One. We could do World War Two or any other Oversimplified videos if you want to see that. So yeah, bye.
If you want to see millions more of human lives lost, go ahead.
Yeah.
Just comment.